3 maintenance projects you should have done by now. Roof maintenance, inspecting the freshwater system, and giving the chassis a thorough once-over. That's what we're going to talk about today in Staying on the Road. Then enjoying the RV Live segment, we're going to talk about the comprehensive guide we have on our website of when to sell your RV. And then the next stop, we're going to visit the awesome Craters of the Moon in southern Idaho. And then in RV Envy, we're going to talk about the new International MV607 windshield cover that SunPro Manufacturing has just come online with. So I want to welcome everybody to the show today. This is Eric Stark with the Smart RVer Podcast, delivering the smarts you need to enjoy the freedom of the RV lifestyle without the fear of breaking down. Let's talk everything RV today. So we're in episode 153, and let's dig right into it. So Alexis is here today, and how are you doing?
I'm doing swell, Eric.
Doing swell. Right on, like Dennis the Menace or Leave It the Beaver. Mm-hmm. Swell.
Swell.
That's nice. That's cute. No. So before we dig into it, I have something I want to share with everybody, a nice reminder. So when you have work done on your RV, when you go to pick it up, before you pay, make sure that the work has been done to the RV. We hear this time and time again. The customer leaves their RV at the dealership. They pay for it. Maybe it's $500, maybe it's $300, maybe it's $3,000, whatever it is. They pick up the RV, they get home, and what they took it there for does not work. And they're frustrated, and they call the dealership and says, well, there's nothing wrong with it when it was here. Something like that. But yet they charge them for a repair. I mean, it goes all over the board on how this plays out. And I know there are some things you can't necessarily check thoroughly when you pick up your RV, but you need to make sure that they've done the work and they've done it right. At some level, you need to hold them to the fire on this, walk out to the RV with the service writer or whoever, and make sure they've done something, especially the things you took it in for. Quite often, they'll get other things done, maybe things you didn't take it in for that maybe they saw, and you said, yeah, go ahead and do that. They'll get that stuff done, but not what you wanted them to do. The point of taking your RV there and leaving it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it might be. Like I said, we hear this quite often in the store. So it's one of the little things I wrote down to make sure we talk about that. So make sure the work is done. I know here when people pick up their RV, we give them a little tour of it, show them what we did before they ever pay for it. So that way they're happy. They understand what was done, where we're at, and everything's good that way. I know not everybody does that, but you want to get something like that done to make sure. All right, so enough of that. Let's get into enjoying the RV life. Now, Alexis is going to give us a comprehensive lesson on when to sell your RV. And we're not talking about just, the time of year. It's reasons why you should sell your RV. Things change in your life. But go ahead, Alexis.
Right. And obviously, I'm not going to get deep in all these points. There's about 7 different points here, but you can find it on the website if you want to read a little more into it. But yeah, we were talking about how sometimes personal preferences change, financial considerations, that kind of thing changes. Maybe you've got different goals now, and the RV or the travel trailer that you have just doesn't fit in with that. So you need to think about maybe selling it, getting something that does fit your life at that point. So that's the first thing. Is kind of your lifestyle might change. You might need more amenities, maybe less amenities. Maybe you want to go something smaller so you can go more places. It just is kind of up to you. The other thing is maintenance costs. If you've got something on your hand that's a little older, maybe it's got more repairs that need to happen. Maybe there's more things going wrong, more things breaking down. That might be something to consider because it is a lot of financial burden could be on you. So that's something you want to think about. 2, upgrading technology. That's something we talk about in RVNB sometimes. We want to get things that are innovative, that might be new. And I'm not saying you have to get a brand new RV, but maybe something different that has different upgrades than yours did that you really, really think would be useful in your life. So that might be something to consider.
Okay, those are some great points. Technology's good. It changes quite a bit. Be cautious, though. Some of the new technology sounds real good until it breaks.
Exactly.
And you're stranded in the middle of nowhere with a broken RV because one little piece of technology broke. So See, that's where coming in and understanding your RV.
Yeah.
And not listening to the nonsense they give you at the dealership. Oh, no, these things last for 50 years, 400-year warranty on it. You're good.
You just know that's not
exaggeration there. But another thing that caught my attention here was the maintenance costs. And like Alexa said, there's more to this list than what we're going through. But, if you buy, let's say, a new RV, let's say, on a Freightliner chassis, well, that's a diesel chassis. That's a truck chassis. So that's not like having a van chassis or something like on a V10, Ford V10 type chassis. That's the real deal. Mm-hmm. So your maintenance now is different. You're not taking it to a lube and tune for an oil change. There's more things you got to do. An oil change is much, much more expensive. You're not talking $30 anymore. So consider those things when you're buying something like that. Now, like a Freightliner is an awesome chassis. Yes. But it comes with an awesome price tag. Yeah. Tires, what are they, $1,500 a piece, $1,000 a piece, whatever they are. They're not cheap. They can be very expensive and they don't last forever. Mm-hmm. Transmissions, maintenance. So keep that in mind, where trailers in your basic Class A motorhomes can be much cheaper depending on the chassis. And I'm not knocking it. I mean, if you can afford it, go ahead and do it. But consider that.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you go to the dealership, don't ask them about the maintenance. Go to a Freightliner dealer or whoever makes that chassis. If it's a diesel pusher, find out the chassis and find out what the real maintenance cost will be. You might be surprised how much more it is than what you think. Right. And, when a transmission breaks, a new truck, a transmission breaks, it could be $10,000. Mm-hmm. And one of these diesel pushers, it could be $20,000, $30,000. It could be much more. So be ready for that is all I'm getting at, Think it through before you make that big purchase. But all these other things are great things. You're having problems. Sometimes you just got to get rid of the RV, whatever it is, financial things, market trends. Things going to smaller RVs now. Yeah. Freight or the Class A's are kind of not a dying breed, but they're not as popular as they used to be.
A little less popular. Yeah.
It's changing. The dynamics are changing just like everything else. Mm-hmm. All right, so that gives us some insight, and if you go to the smartrver.com, under Enjoying the RV Life, you'll find this guide there, the comprehensive guide on when to sell your RV. And, you might understand all this, but it's nice to read it. Good reminders in there. Might get you thinking in a different direction as well. We always need more data in our brain. That way it pushes us in a different direction sometimes. Yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about the 3 maintenance projects you should have done by now, considering I think we're past spring, we're in summer, right? Yes. So that's the roof maintenance, the inspecting the fresh water system, and giving the chassis a thorough once-over. So that's staying on the road today. Now let's get into this. So, when you think about your roof maintenance, and I talk about that quite a bit. In fact, these 3 things are regular subjects here at the Smart RVer. This stuff is driven because of our customer base. What we sell in the store, what customers are asking us. Alexis, how many times a day does someone ask about roof maintenance?
Oh my gosh, that's the biggest question we get. Yeah.
Yeah, if we sold, if lap sealant was like coffee, it'd be like a lap sealant coffee shop.
Yes, it would.
I mean, we sell so much of it. That stuff just goes out the door, and it's always questions about it. Yep. And it's good because the people here are taking care of their RVs, and that's what we want. They're taking care of their roof, and the roof protects that entire investment. You got a bad roof, you got a bad RV. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And so for resale, no stains on the roof, it's an added bonus. And we hear it all the time. Oh, we just bought an RV and the roof, the owner said they fixed some leaks, but it's still leaking and it's leaking over here. It wasn't maintained. So the value of that RV diminishes rapidly. And sometimes, it can just be a bad investment period. If the roof's been leaking for a long period of time, the frame can be bad, the structure can be bad. So you want to be careful of that. But anyway, that's another subject. So maintaining the roof. So you have to get on the roof to do this. You can't do this from the ground. And you can get on a ladder and go around the side of the RV and kind of look and stuff. But when you get up on the roof, you're there, man. You can see it. And sometimes it's a hassle getting up and down on a roof of an RV, depending on what ladders you have, your age, all those things. If you can't do it yourself, then find a trusted professional that can do it. Because, there's the sealant up there, like the lap sealant I mentioned, that cracks, and it doesn't always need to be like the whole vent, let's say. There's cracks on it. Doesn't mean the whole vent has to be resealed. It's just where it needs the where the cracks are. So you would do the sealant there. But it's also washing the roof, putting the UV guard on it to make sure that it's in good shape and protecting it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use a rubber roof cleaner if you have a rubber roof. It, works better for cleaning than some other things like, let's say, Dawn dishwashing detergent, which seems to work on everything.
Yeah. For real.
It should be Dawn Universal detergent.
I know, right?
I'm just going to buy that and rebottle it. How's that?
There you go.
You can drink it, whatever.
No.
But anyway, what's made for the roof is better to use than something that's not made for the roof. But getting up there and doing that, and not only now or in the springtime, but you want to do it really about 3 times a year. You might wash your RV 2 or 3 times a year, and you want to check it then for sure, because there's usually a good distance of time between the two, first washing, second washing. Unless you live in an area where you have to wash it more. Some places, you don't have to wash it all, or if it's covered, if it's inside, you really don't have to do as much with it because the maintenance just doesn't have to be done when it's inside.
Mm-hmm.
So staying up on that roof maintenance is very important. And, it's more than just around the vents and the seams. You might have a ladder that goes up there. Those stanchions sometimes can get loose and they need to be tightened down if possible, but keeping that sealed up real good. Anything on that roof needs to be sealed. Vents, the air conditioner shouldn't be leaking into the RV. If that is leaking, then you need to take care of that. You're on the roof, think about the clearance lights as well. A lot of times they're on the side of the RV and up on a front cap or something, but they're good places for water leaks, So maybe include that in your roof maintenance. So wash the RV, then do the roof UV guard, whether it's Dicor, Thetford, whichever brand you prefer, Camco. Use something on there to protect the roof.
Yeah.
Something that's made for it. And I know there's other products sometimes that aren't made for or they don't have the label for it. They're like maybe from the automotive industry or something like that. And that's fine if it does the same thing and it doesn't hurt the roof. But be cautious. Sometimes people use things that aren't really cool to use on rubber roofs. Like a person yesterday told me they use brake clean to clean their rubber roof.
Oh, no.
Brake clean kind of is harmless in a sense, but man, it dries everything out.
Yeah.
You spray it on your hand, it just sucks the oils right out of it,
Right.
So anything that roof that's good for it. And that roof was an old roof, but where she sprayed the brake clean, oh man, it was spotless clean,
Oh boy.
And she was probably wiping off white with it too, taking the rubber off as she's cleaning it.
Oh, no.
So you don't want to just use anything. Use things that are made for the roof, which is basically roof cleaner and UV guard and lap sealant. There's not much else out there. But like I said, sometimes people find little things that work, and that's fine. Just be cautious, I like to stick with what's made for things because it's going to work rather than some, I don't know.
DIY.
Yeah, some homebrew,
Yeah, exactly. That's not
This
good.
is what I do.
Nice.
3 parts acetone, 1 part beer. I don't know. The beer I drink now, I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, going backwards or here a little bit. So just pay attention to the roof. That maintenance not only needs to be done before the summer season starts, but the end of the season, somewhere in between if you can. If it's stored outside, if it's inside, not so much. You don't have to worry about it as much. Maybe the end of the season or the beginning of the end of the season, whatever works for you. And then you go from the roof to the fresh water system. So here's another thing that's very important. The fresh water system is kind of like the lifeblood of the RV on the inside, because without water, it can get kind of ugly. Yeah. You might not use it for drinking water, but for doing dishes, taking showers, flushing the toilet, those are important things. And you want to make sure they're working, because a toilet that doesn't flush can kind of ruin a trip. Water, you can't use the kitchen faucet because it leaks. That kind of ruins a trip. So making sure everything works. And, sometimes like anything on an RV or even a car, sometimes you can do all the inspections in the world, but when you get out camping, something fails. But inspecting it first, it can eliminate some of those problems. Don't leave the house with a leak that could potentially turn into a much worse situation. And it's, double checking, but also it gets you familiar with the water system. And as you're familiarizing yourself with it, you want to think about what fittings would I need in an emergency? What tools would I need? How hard would it be to replace my water pump? And I'm not saying carry a spare water pump because, water pumps can last for years. And so buying a spare one is kind of over the top, I think, unless you really are suspect your water pump that's going to fail any day now. Then, having a spare on hand if you're out, that's great, Yeah. Mm-hmm. But looking at how hard it can be to get to things can really help you mentally on, what do I need to do if this breaks? Yeah. Can I do this out in a campground someplace, or would I have to do this at home? Is there a filter someplace that doesn't get changed that often for the fresh water system because it's such a nightmare to replace? And I would say just bypass it. Just take it out of the system and put in line and not use that filter and put one on the outside. Yeah. Get rid of that headache, Mm-hmm. If you have a faucet that's leaking, remember, most faucets in RVs are plastic. So if it's leaking today, it's probably going to break tomorrow. So just replace it. Faucets sometimes can be a hassle because they're under a counter. You have to reach up, especially kitchen faucets. But it's better to do at home where you got all the tools and the time than out in the campground someplace or on the road somewhere. Mm-hmm. So it's staying on top of it, but also, like I said, it's understanding your system, becoming familiar with it. And then that helps you to realize or to make a list of the items you need to bring with you. Like on our website, sunpromfg.com, it just led right into this, didn't it? But we have several different kits on there for buying, like emergency kits for buying fittings. And two of our most recent ones we put up there were about the Best Pex and EcoPoly fittings that use crimp tools to put them on. You have to have crimp rings. But there's also a clamp called a PEX lock that's on that part of those kits as well, that all you need is a pair of channel locks. So it's not a special tool. Channel locks, a little bit of strength because they are hard to squeeze, but it's a great little plastic clamp and it's reusable. In fact, we have a video on that and we'll put this in the link of the descriptions here. And, it's not so much trying to sell you this. Of course, if you buy one, great, but it's seeing what we have in a kit. And maybe you go, oh, this is what I need to have. And even if, you camp close to home, having these kits is pretty handy.
Oh, yeah.
I have fittings in my RV and I should probably have more, but I have a store and that's what I thought. He's like, I got a store. It doesn't matter. But if I'm 3 hours away, it's going to matter.
It's going to matter.
And there's only so many things you can fake. You can't fake a fitting a lot of times.
No.
So give that some extra thought. Do you need to have more fittings, more tools? Do you already have the right tools to work on your water system, which generally doesn't take much? A square tip screwdriver, a drill is nice, some pliers. If you have flare-it fittings and that's what you prefer, then make sure you have flare-it fittings. If you have the crimp style and that's what you prefer, make sure you have extra tubing. Some RVs have the rigid PEX tubing, some have, and they also have the flexible line that works with the Best Pex and EcoPoly fittings. It actually works with the flare-it fittings with the right connector on, or the right nut to tighten it down. A lot of those things are done wrong, and so you have to make sure you're not just copying bad. There's been some bad practices over the years with manufacturers putting stuff in, using things they shouldn't, using clamps in areas where they shouldn't, regular screw clamps, which you can use on some of the flexible line, but never on PEX tubing. It won't work. But check it out. Make sure it's in good shape, and if you're already into summer, you've already done that. And if you haven't, take some time. And even when you get back from a trip, maybe check the faucets, just some basic things. Get a flashlight, shine it in there, just the basic system things to make sure you're good. And then just be prepared, out on the road if something happens. And another thing, too, is, sometimes people will cancel a trip or maybe come home early because their fresh water system quits working because of a clogged filter screen on the water pump. Mm-hmm. You can just take those out of the system for the weekend and just put the water line right into the pump. Yeah. If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Just replace it when you get home. Yeah. And that is a part, if you had a spare, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world because those things do need to be replaced from time to time.
Yeah.
They crack, they get nasty, the screens get beyond cleaning, but just keep that in mind. Mm-hmm. All right, so you've got the roof done now. You've got the fresh water system done. We're almost ready to go. Now let's talk about the chassis. So the chassis is two different areas. We have, motorhome chassis and we have trailer chassis. Two different animals, right? So if you have a motorhome, hopefully you have a mechanic or you're doing it yourself, but you're staying up on that maintenance to begin with, and it's not running away from you because you have an engine, you have a drivetrain, you got tires, brakes, everything under the sun. It's just like a truck. So it's going to need maintenance as well. So you want to stay on top of that. And, when it comes to tires, don't go cheap. Don't chintzy out on that. Oh, I can squeak another trip out of this.
Right.
When a tire blows, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
If it doesn't or create $2,000 worth of damage, it creates a whole lot of headache.
Mm-hmm.
Especially some RVs, you can't really change a tire out on the road by yourself. You got to call a service to come out and do it. So make sure your chassis on your motorhome is in excellent shape, just like your car would be or your truck. But you can also inspect things before you leave. Obviously, you can check the oil on the engine, the transmission fluid, the radiator fluid, power steering, all that type of stuff. You can go around, look at the tires, get underneath there, just look at the underneath, see if there's anything obvious, bracket hanging, falling off, oil leaking somewhere. Check your belts, hoses, some of the basic stuff. That's still pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
Especially like on Freightliners, Internationals, you got that hood that just lifts up out of the way. It's like, there's the engine. It's all right there, much easier than some others.
Mm-hmm.
But now if you have a trailer, your chassis is a little bit different. It's simpler. Yeah. You got a couple axles, 4 tires, wheels, and that's basically it. But you have your propane tanks on there, propane lines running underneath it. You have some wiring.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in the same situation, just not as complex. And you can look at your tires, make sure they're in good shape, not cracking, the tread isn't splitting anywhere. Consider the age of them. If they're 5 years old, they're probably time to replace, even though they might have good tread. They wear out from the inside. That's how they break down. And, you get one flat on it, one tire blows out on a trailer, more likely another one's going to go, another one, until they're all replaced. And you've done it 4 times, so stay ahead of it. 5 years on them, I would replace them, especially if you're in hot areas like Arizona, places like that, New Mexico, Utah. You definitely want to do it. Colder areas, they last a little bit longer, but you're pushing it at 5 years,
I'm sure.
If you're staying local and you're really watching them, you might be able to do it, but it's better just be done with it. Also on the trailer chassis, when you're underneath there, depending on the chassis, when it was made, everything might be in the belly pan, all the wiring, the heater ducting, everything, the plumbing. So it's kind of just laying in there. So make sure your belly pan's secure. It's not falling down. There's nothing hanging out of it. If you have the material type, like a Tyvek type material, make sure there's it's all taped up. Everything's the way it should be. There's no holes in it, places for rodents to get in, but also just wear and tear from the highway when you're going down the road. If it's wet out, muddy, things like that. Check the leaf springs. Make sure the wiring's good going to the brakes. Check your brakes. Hook it up to your tow vehicle and make sure those brakes work.
Right.
You can also put 12 volts on the trailer connector, the bottom 2 pins. One's the ground, one's to the brakes. You can do that. And if you hear noise, you can click, and then noise, those brakes are probably working okay. Not 100%, but probably. Right, so you check your brakes and make sure everything's working good. There's basic things here. It's not real complex when it comes to the chassis unless you have problems, then it could be. But a lot of this you can just do yourself if you have the do-it-yourself capabilities. That's what this show is all about. Even if you don't have the ability, it's gaining that confidence to do it, learning these things on your own. Like Alexis, just from listening to the show now, she's a full-fledged AAA RV technician, master technician.
He lies.
Maybe not, but
I know a lot more.
Right.
Yeah.
See, if she goes out camping with her husband, she's going to know everything.
I do feel more confident. Yep.
There you go. You can learn, and sometimes our skill set won't allow us to do certain things, and that's fine. You just take it to a pro, though, and a good pro, not a fake pro.
Take it to Eric Stark.
There you go. So there's a lot of things out there, a lot of things can happen out there, and you got to be ready for it. All right, so hopefully you've done all 3 of those things. If you haven't, there's still time, and just keep up on it as the season progresses and we get closer to winter. Make sure you've been doing all these things. Then we'll talk about what you're going to do coming this fall around that time.
Yep.
So now, if you have, you guys out there listening have any questions that I can answer in a future episode, please text it to me, email it to me. Heck, you can call me. If you go to the smartrver.com, all of our information is there under the Contact Us page. I'll answer the question, and I'll turn it into a segment of our podcast, but I'll answer your question beforehand. So you're not going to have to wait, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, or anything like that. I'll answer the question right away, usually within a day or two. But then I want to use that and turn it into an episode or part of an episode. So if you have anything out there that's, needs to be answered, you're unsure about, even if you feel it's a dumb question, there's no stupid questions, right? If you got a question, just let me know and we'll take care of it. All right. So now we're going to move on to the next stop. And as I said earlier, we're going to go to the Craters of the Moon Park and Preserve in southern Idaho. So, Alexis, what caught your eye about this?
The name.
The name.
It's so cool. And I don't know that I've been there. We've been around that area, but I really do want to go since we're so close. But it's just kind of amazing. It's really cool for RVers. There's a lot of RV parks. There's a lot of natural things that you can see from it. So if you're interested in like earth science, then this would be kind of cool. Yeah, there's distinct geological features. There's lots of exploration, lots of hiking you can get out and do. Really cool for photographers. Just Google it and check out some pictures of it. It's really cool. And obviously, like I said, there's lots of RV parks, lots of accommodations for RVers. So it's really a great place to go with the family.
It is. So it's very close to us.
Yes.
So Alexis not being there is like living in, let's say Hollywood and never going to Disneyland,
Yeah, I know. I should have.
What a loser, right? So it is very unique. And what's cool about Craters of the Moon is you can stay there, but there's also towns nearby, or there's things nearby, but there's like Arco, which is, I forget how many miles away. There's a place to eat there called Pickles.
Ooh.
I forget, they serve hamburgers and stuff, but they make their own little, sauces and,
hopefully pickles.
seasoning and stuff like that. And they sell it. It's a cool little place, magnets, all the cool little trinkets you buy.
Yeah.
So that's an awesome little place. Arco's pretty cool. There's a lot of things to see there. I think Arco's where every year the kids graduate, they paint that year on the rocks on the hill, or they put a rock up there.
Huh.
If you might be against that, but it looks cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then there's Chalice, which isn't too far away.
Ah, that's neat.
So that's, I think 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So you could actually make day trips. You can stay in Chalice, whatever you want to do. But there's a ton of stuff there.
There is.
There is.
There's a lot.
Really around it. And, you go the right time of year, you'll see the place with snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Or, no snow. You can see it both ways. But it is a really cool place to go. So put that on your list. One more thing.
Yeah.
And since you're so close to Victor, Montana, you might as well just come by and see us as well. We're always nice to guests.
Yeah.
You stop by and get a free pin and a sticker.
Yeah.
That makes it worthwhile right there.
Yeah, right there.
We just don't give those out to anybody. They have to be approved.
That's right.
All right. So I think that wraps up with the next stop. So go to our website, thesmartrver.com. Everything's there. And again, it'll whet your appetite and get you looking at a map and probably find someplace else to go. Now let's talk about our latest addition to the windshield cover family from SunPro Manufacturing. So it's the International MV607 from 2018 to 2024. And probably 2025 if it's out already. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So we've made a one-piece windshield cover kit, which absolutely awesome for this RV. Fits beautiful. We'll put some pictures in the description of the podcast. There's going to be a video on YouTube, so we'll link that as well. This podcast will come out before the video, I'm sure, but we will make sure it's there. Or you can go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com, the Smart RVer Podcast.
Yes.
That'll take you there. You can see this thing for yourself. It's very similar to a Freightliner M2 and S2 RV windshield cover, except this is a one-piece, but it just fits perfect. Mm-hmm. It's like the ideal motorhome. Well, Freightliners are too, for windshield covers. They just look so good on.
They do.
It's like it was part of the RV when they built it.
Looks excellent.
So we have it in the 90% material, which is a sunshade material. So the big thing is at night when that windshield cover is on, you can see through it because of the lighting issues. It's, it's all about lights. During the day, it gives you that extra added privacy. But we also have it in the 100% block out. So you can't see in or out during the day or night, which is what a lot of people love. And we have that for the internet or the Freightliner as well. And so we have that new addition to the International. So that's the International MV607. And if you don't have one and you know someone does, let them know about it. They'll absolutely love you for it. Great product. All right. So that's going to pretty much bring us towards the end of our show here. One final thing, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Smart RVer, and you can see all of our great videos there. And like I mentioned, there'll be one there about the International MV607, among all the other awesome videos. So next week, we're going to talk about on-demand water heater, or tankless water heaters, or instant water heaters, whatever you want to call them. We're going to be talking about the RV versions of that. We're going to cover the gamut, I think, at Fagatti, Lippert, Suburban, Girard, your mama's water heater, whatever. We're going to talk about them all.
Nice.
All right. So it's been a great show today. I want to thank everybody for coming by. And so this is Eric Stark with the Smart RVer Podcast. It's been great hanging out with you. If I don't see you on the road, let's connect at thesmartrver.com.